Hey guys, welcome to issue 13, and today we're making Minnie's bow, and there's also another square to do with this one, which is Mickey's background square. I will do those over two different videos so they don't get confused. Minnie's bow, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried about this one. And that is purely because I've seen all the posts in the groups of how difficult it is to make the bow and how rubbish it does look once it's finished. I will see what happens when I'm making it. If I make it and I decide that it looks terrible, then I may go my own route and make my own bow, and I'll share the pattern for that one instead. But I think it's just a case of just going along, seeing what happens and seeing what we're happy with, and we'll just go with the flow. We'll just see what happens. So today we need the three colours for the Minnie's bow square, and that is sunflower we've used before, cyan we've used before, and just a standard white. So they're three pretty simple colours to locate. As always, we're going with our 4mm hook, and to begin with, and it looks like for the main square we're just using the white all the way through, and then the sunflower and the cyan are for the border and the bow. So let's get our white ready and get started. So I've gone ahead and already made a slip knot and attached it to my hook. We've done that so many times, I'm sure you know how to do that by now. It's just really difficult for me to do it with my phone in front of me filming. I remember to leave long enough of your non-working tail to thread that one in at the end. So we're starting this one with 4 chains. So we're just yarning over and pulling it through. There's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're going into the bottom chain and doing a slip stitch, so just pulling that yarn through and through again, and we've completed a foundation ring. We're then chaining 2, and this is the first round now, so 1 and 2. After we've chained 2, and that one counts as our first stitch and it's counted as a half treble, we're going to do 2 half trebles into the ring. So we're pulling those apart by pulling the stitches to find the centre to see the hole that we want to go into. So we're yarning over for our half treble. We're then going into the centre of that ring, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So we've got 3 loops on our hook. We're then yarning over and pulling through all 3, and that is our first half treble. We're then yarning over again, going back in through that circle and pulling up a loop. You've now got 3 loops on the hook. We're yarning over and pulling through all 3, and that is your second half treble complete. You then want to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're then going to do 3 half trebles into that ring. So yarn over, there is 1, yarn over, back in that ring and pull up a loop. Oh, why is this being awkward? There's 2. It's also not focusing very well because it's white and my background's white. I do apologise, it keeps going out of focus. So we've done 2. And there's 3. We're then chaining 2 again. 1, 2. And then another 3 half trebles into that ring. 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 2, We need to carry on with the chaining 2, then the 3 half trebles into the ring as many times as it says in the magazine under round 1, and I'll meet you back when you've finished. So I've done all my half trebles as many times as it says in the book that I need to do, and after that we need to do just 1 chain this time. After that 1 chain, we are going to join with a double crochet in our 2nd chain. So we need to look at the, I'm so sorry it's difficult to see given the fact that it's white, but these are chains from the start of that round. So we need to count up, there's 1 here and 2 here. So we'll go into our 2nd one. I say, as I can't get in there we go. We're yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over again, and pulling all the way through, and there we have just completed round 1. So after that we're chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. This counts as a treble because it looks like we're going to be doing trebles in this round. We need to do 1 treble in each of the next 3 half trebles. So we're yarning over and we're going into our stitches. I don't know if you can see them there. There's almost like a line, and we need to be making sure that we get both of those loops. So we're yarning over, and this is our first one here. You want to pick up all those loops. There will probably be 3 because we've just done a half treble. A half treble will create 3 loops that go over the hook. You know, we normally just go in with the V. When you create a half treble, you end up with a V that side and a V that side, and there's like 3 pieces of yarn there. So you can go in through all 3 if you want to, because obviously it makes no difference what the back of our square looks like, and it'll only affect what the back looks like. So we're pulling up our loop of yarn then, so we've got 3 on the hook. We're yarning over, going through 2, yarning over and going through 2. Again, we're yarning over, we're going through that next stitch, pulling up a loop, so 3 on the hook, yarning over, going through 2, yarning over, going through 2. Once more, yarning over, in through the next stitch and pulling up a loop, yarning over, going through 2, going through 2, and now we've come to the corner space just here. Can you see my finger there through it? So into the corner we're doing 1 treble, 2 chains and 1 treble. So we're yarning over and going in through the space and not a stitch and pulling up a loop. We're yarning over, pulling through 2 and pulling through 2. We're then doing the 2 chains and then another treble into that space. I'll just show you from one more edge. We're then yarning over and going into our next stitch. Let me just find that one, just bear with me. Yarning over through 2 and 2 again. Yarn over into your next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Last one, yarn over, in through your stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. We're then going into our next corner space just here. So it's 1 treble, 2 chains, 1, 2, and then 1 more treble. So you need to repeat that going all the way around. You've got your 3 trebles, and then into your next corner it's 1 treble, 2 chains, 1 treble, and then go all the way back to the beginning, and I'll meet you at the end. So I've gone all the way around, and we then need to do a treble into our corner just here. We're then doing 1 chain, and we're joining with a double crochet into our 3rd chain. So these are our chains. You just need to count up 1, 2, and I've got 3 there. So I'm going in through this one, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through again, and we have completed round 2. For round 3, we're chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3, and this counts as our first treble. Just bear with me, I need more yarn. So the first instruction of round 3 is to do 1 treble into the space. So that's the space below where you've just made those chains. So it would be this hole here. So we're going in through there and doing a treble. The next instruction is to do a treble in each of the next 5 trebles that we made from the last round. So we've got 1 here, and then you can see we've got the other 4 stitches just there, and we're going to be doing the trebles into the tops of them. So yarn over, we've got our first one just here. So there's 1 treble just there, and then our next one, that's 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we come to our next corner space. In the corner we're going to be doing 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. So we're carrying on with the same stitch. There's 1 treble, 2 trebles, 2 chains, 1 treble, 2 treble. I'm sure you can go all the way around on your own. You're doing 1 treble into the top of each of those 5 in the last round, and then in your corners you're doing 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I've done my last 5 trebles into the tops of those of the last round. At the end we're going to be doing 2 trebles into our corner space. One and 2. We're then chaining 1, and we're joining with a double crochet in our 3rd chain. So my 3rd chain is here, pull that one through, yarn over, pull through again, and you have now completed round 3. So moving on to round 4, we're chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. We're then doing 1 treble into our corner space, so remember to pull that one apart to find your corner. There's 1. We're then doing 1 treble into each of the next 9 trebles. So make sure you've got your 9 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So I've got exactly 9 there. So yarn over. My first one is just here. Going in through that space. And we're sticking with the same stitch that we've been using. So there's 1. There's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8, and 9. So for our corners for round 4, we're doing exactly the same as the last round. We're doing 2 trebles, 1 and 2, we're chaining 2, 1 and 2, and then we're doing another 2 trebles into the space, 1 and 2. So we need to continue with that going all the way around. You need to do a treble into the top of every 9 stitches here, and we're then doing 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles into every corner space. I will see you back at the end of the round. So I've just got to the end of round 4. I'm now doing 2 trebles into the corner space, 1 and 2. I'm then chaining 1, and again I'm finishing this one with a double crochet into my 3rd chain. So my 3rd chain is here, pull up a loop and then pull through, and that is round 4 complete. For round 5, we're following exactly the same method as we have done for the last few rounds. So we're chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. You then need to do 1 treble into your corner space. We're then going to be doing 1 treble into each of the tops of the next 13 stitches. So you've got 13 here from your last round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So you're going into the tops of those stitches with your trebles. When you get to a corner, your corner is exactly the same for the last round again. You're doing 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. I'm sure after the last few rounds you know exactly what you're doing by now. Round 6 will be different, so I will meet you at the end of round 5 when you finish this one. Just remember you're doing a treble into the top of every stitch, so there's 13, and then in the corner 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. See you at the end. So I've got to the end of round 5, just finishing that one off in the same way as the other rounds as well. So we're doing 2 trebles into that corner space, 1 and 2, we're chaining 1, and then we're joining with a double crochet into our 3rd chain. And now we need to move on to round 6. Guys, it's been a few days since I filmed the first part of this video, and I do realise I made an error at the beginning because I said that I'd be making several different videos for this square and the other Mickey square that's featured in this magazine issue. I didn't quite realise when I was doing it that they're both exactly the same, just in different colours. So with that in mind, whilst I've been not well enough to film the past few days, I did go ahead and make the next square just so I knew what I was doing, just so it was easier for me to be able to make the video and not have to keep looking at the instructions. I will say something though about this, where we're doing the colour work. This took me hours. This row here with all the different colour stitches, you're using 2 of the same colours on one row. I had to undo this and redo this so many times because I kept going wrong. It's quite complicated, and for any of you that aren't, I guess, confident with crocheting yet, you might find this really difficult. It's easy enough to do because we're still doing the treble stitch that we've done in the last few rounds. It's just that we're changing colour every time, and it's just more a case of remembering to do it rather than it being a really complicated stitch. I'd advise you, I'm going to do a whole row of it. I'd advise you just to watch it through a couple of times just so you can pick up on what I'm doing. If you think it looks too difficult, perhaps come back to this square after doing other ones and building up your confidence a bit. Anyway, I'll stop yabbering on. We'll get into it. I'll show you what to do, but please just bear in mind that I have found this difficult. As someone, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but as someone that is experienced. So if you do find this difficult, don't panic. It took me, it's something that I've never done before either. So that might be why it took me a long time to pick it up. But I'm hoping from the video that it's something that you can do and it works out okay for you because you've got someone to show you how to do it. But anyway, we need our white square and we're moving on with the sunflower yarn as well now. So we're moving on to round 6, I believe. Yes, round 6. It might be helpful for you to have the pictures in front of you in the magazine, because steps 3 to 7 plus show you exactly what you need to do this colour work, and it was using those that helped me. If I'd have just had the written instructions, there is no way that I would have been able to do this. So we're using 2 colours on one round, and for that simple reason, even though we're using the sunflower in this one, we're not fastening off the white, so make sure that you leave that one attached. So I'm putting my hook into our last stitch that we did, and the first instruction of this round is to make 2 chains. So I'm making 1 and then 2, and here is where we're going to start with the sunflower yarn. So I'm going to get that one, make sure I've got enough of a tail on it to thread in at the end, and we're just going to pull it over our hook and then pull it through. So we've now got the sunflower yarn on our hook. Make sure to pull the white so that loop is tight enough around the sunflower, and this is where it gets really fiddly, because obviously you're trying to control the tightness of that loop on the hook and also the one with the white as well. So this is where you're going to have to almost get used to holding several different yarn ends, and that's where I did get a bit confused. Keeping tension is really difficult in this round, sadly. But I wouldn't worry about it too much because it is your first colour work. So I'm just going to move all those around the back. So once you've got that one on your hook, there is an error in the pattern in that it says we need to do our first sort of stitch into the first actual stitch of the square, but we do need to go into the space. So we've yarned over with the sunflower, and I'm going to take my working yarn and yarn over there, and then we're going to go into the space and pull up a loop, so we've got 3 loops on our hook. We're then going to yarn over and pull through 2, and here's where your colour work starts, because we're now going to take our white working yarn and we're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and that is our treble, and we've done it in the 2 different colours. Play around with the loops that you've got there, pulling them to tighten that stitch so it looks like the rest of the stitches that you've done in your last few rounds. So make sure the whole of the way through this, the yarn colour that you aren't using to hold against your work, purely because we don't want any loose ends at the back of our work making it look ugly. We want to kind of crochet over them. So we've got the white on the hook now, which means we need to use the white for the next stitch. So I will yarn over, and then I'm going into that stitch and pulling up a loop. So I've got 3 loops on my hook. You can see here the sunflower is lying over that stitch, so if you can just see that, when I yarn over now, it is getting caught in the middle of that stitch, and so it won't be loose on the back. So I'm yarning over and pulling through 2, and then we need to complete it But yes, you've guessed it, we're taking the sunflower and we're then pulling it through the 2. So we've now done 2 stitches, and it is just a case of doing the trebles and then finishing off pulling through the last 2 loops in the other colour. The most complicated thing with this is just to remember to change the colour, but also trying to keep your work hidden and just to keep it clean, I guess. If you don't do that, it's not a problem because it is the back of your work. But I guess it's just trying to learn how to be neat. Anyway, yarning over and then into our next stitch and pulling up a loop. Remember, this one needs to be, the white will be over the top of this one to make sure it gets caught in that stitch if you're trying to keep the back of your work clean. So we're yarning over and pulling through 2. We're then swapping to the other colour, yarning over and pulling through 2. Now using the white, yarn over, in through your stitch and pull up, so you've got 2, yarn over and pull through 2, swap over, pull through 2, yarn over, in through your stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, swap your colours, yarn over and pull through 2. And it's just a continuation of that all the way. Oh, I didn't yarn over, did I? It's just a continuation of that all the way along. But it's just trying to, I think that I've got it now because I finished the other square. And to begin with, this just completely threw me. And it took me so long, like I said, it took me hours of constant redoing just to get it to go right. And it is still so fiddly trying to work. It's just not normal having to cope with 2 different colour yarns. And also, these ends here, as you go along and you're twisting them like back and forth between the ones that you're using, they are going to get really twisted and knotted up. And that kind of slowed me down as well, because I was constantly having to go and untwist them just to make sure that I could work with them because they were so knotted up. Oh, come out. I'm just going to keep going, like I said, to the end of the row, so you can just keep watching it and hopefully pick up exactly what needs to be. Oh, I didn't yarn over. See, I'm still making mistakes. Ooh. I'm not going slow here for your benefit. This is genuinely how slow I am at doing this because it is so confusing. Even if I wasn't filming right now, this is exactly the speed I would be going at. I really don't like this. Crochet is supposed to be easy and relaxing, not taxing and complicated. Ooh. I'm just so worried about the tension and everything as well, not being right. Look, can you see how those are completely like looped over each other and tangled up? The thing that I found the most difficult when I was doing this is when you get to the corners, it's quite easy to mess up. So I had to redo mine a few times just to make sure that my corners were right. But I will show you what I mean when I get there. sorry, trying to keep the camera focused while doing this. And also doing this. It's the most complicated thing. I'm so sorry if this video doesn't explain it well enough and you can't do it. Like, there's literally no other way that I can explain it, because I find it so difficult myself. I'm getting all knotted up now. Nearly at the end. So one more to go. And now we've reached our corner space. So we're at the corner, and we're going to do 2 more of those colour changes of the trebles into that space. So I'm on the sunflower colour. There's one. And there's 2. So once we've done those 2, we need to do our 2 chains. We're always going to do our 2 chains into the colour that's currently on the hook after our second treble into the corner. So I'm going to do 1 and then 2, and then we need to do our next 2 trebles into the corner space using this colour. So I'm yarning over, going in, pulling through 2 loops like that, and then yarning over, going through those, pulling through 2 loops. Oh, I've split the yarn. Pulling through 2 loops again, and that is our corner space. And then we'd immediately move on to going into our, you can see our first stitch in here, and then our colour change. So basically we need to do that going all the way around. You will have 18 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Don't include that first white there because that is your chains at the beginning. So you will have 18 of those colour changes to do, and then your 2 into your corner space. I'm telling you that because if you don't have the right amount, it will confuse you. And also, as per usual, there is a mistake in the book, because on picture 3 it tells you, is it picture 3? No, picture 4, it says insert into the next stitch, when it's not telling you to do your first stitch into your corner space. So I think that's the other reason I found this complicated, is because again the instructions were conflicting. I'm going to continue doing this off camera. I presume you will want to watch that through a few times just to get the hang of it. I'm so sorry it's so complicated. Obviously it's not my fault, but it's just horrible. I hope there are a few of you out there who do enjoy it more than I did, and I hope you find it a lot easier than I did as well. Of course, when I get to the end of this round, I will show you how to finish it. Thank goodness I have done it. I've got to the end, and hopefully I never have to do that again because I really don't like it. Okay, I have done my 17 going all the way along into the tops of the stitches. I've also then done my final 2 into the corner space. The last instruction for round 6 is to do 1 chain with the colour that you've got left on your hook. You're then just joining with that one into the 3rd chain. So we're then joining that one with a DC into our 3rd chain, which is here. So pull a loop through, yarn over and pull through, and that round is complete. You will notice, I just need to point some things out just so you know that you've done it right. The 2 chains in this corner are sunflower, the ones on here are white, and they're white here and sunflower here. So they are like opposites. We will chain over them in the next round so you won't see them, but I'm just saying that just so you know that you've done the right amount. If I turn my work over, you will see, although it does look really, really different because this is the back of the work, there are no loose ends. There's no bits of thread going along like that, bits of yarn going along like that, and that was what would happen if we weren't to cover them up when we're stitching. And obviously we don't want loose ends, well, ideally we don't, because it looks messy. But you know, I said about yarns getting knotted because they're going to get all twisted, so yes, I've got to untwist that. One thing I will warn you not to do is not to grab both and just pull, because you're knotting them tighter. So you just have to literally sit and untwist them. You can see it's straight now. Untwist them like that before you pull them apart, otherwise you're just going to make it more difficult on yourself. Now that we've got to this corner and we're moving on to round 7, we don't need the white anymore, so we can fasten the white off where we've just joined it here, and we will just be using the sunflower. So make sure you keep the sunflower attached, but fasten off the white, and then I'll show you how to move on to the next round. So now you will find that your sunflower around the back is where your last stitch was. So I am going to put my hook through my corner space and just yarn over and pull that one through so it's in the right place. We can get rid of those non-working tails because they're in the way. So once you've pulled that one through, chain 1 so it fixes it into the corner space. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into that space. So it's just double crochets on this round, no more trebles. So we're going into the space, pulling up 1, yarning over and pulling 1 through. From there, we're going to do a double crochet into each of the next 21 stitches. So no yarning over before you go in through your stitch. Just simply go in through, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through again, and there's your first one. In through your second stitch, and there's 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got the white here that I just cut from the last round, and rather than me having to thread that end in at the end, I am just crocheting over it like we did in the last round, and then it saves me having to weave it in. So simple crocheting hack there. How many did we get to? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the last one, 21. I've now come to my corner space just here. Into the corner, you're just going to do 1 double crochet, 2 chains, and then 1 double crochet again. So there's 1, 2 chains, and then 1 double crochet again. We're now going to repeat that going round, so there'll be another 21 stitches there for you to DC into the top of, and then when you get to your corner space, it's 1 double crochet, 2 chains, 1 double crochet. If you go all the way around, I'll meet you at the end. So I've come all the way to the end, gone all the way around, and our last instruction is just to do 1 more double crochet into that corner space. So I'm just going to go in through there and do that last double crochet. We then need to chain 1 as we have done with all our other last corners, and then we're then going to finish off with a slip stitch into our first double crochet. Now our first double crochet was this one here, so we're going to go in through this one, just slip stitch that. I will pull that one just so I can show you the square, and I will fasten it off shortly. So there is the pattern for the square completed. Obviously we still need to make the bow to go onto the front. I can't tell you how happy I am that that square's over. That is probably my least favourite so far. I know it will look good when it's finished, but I didn't enjoy making it. I'm going to make the video for the bow a part 2 purely because I've had to rewrite the pattern because it just didn't make sense in the book, so there will be a lot of instructions, and this is already a long video. So I'm going to finish up here. Please subscribe just to make sure that you get a notification when I post videos. It would also mean a lot if you could leave a comment or leave a like, just so I know that people are actually using the videos and finding them helpful. And then I hope to see you in the next one. See you soon.